Can you walk me through the different work management or work component category in Agile? Or can you walk me through the work management flow in Agile? What exactly I mean is what are the different category of work that are recognized in Agile? For example, apart from user story, what other categories are there? Hello, welcome to the Scrum chat room with Dr. Francis Mbunya. Today, we want to talk about different work category in Scrum and how understanding them can improve your ability to effectively help a Scrum team. And for those who are interviewing, that will also help your understanding on what are the different components of work and how do you actually support an agile team. Without this knowledge, it's going to be very difficult for you to support an agile team. Now, if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the likes button is very important so that subsequently my videos are going to easily pop up to you. And also make sure you drop a comment so that I know that you actually liking the content. I can create more content. And don't forget, on Thursday, we're going to be live again for another conversation. Actually check the bell and make sure you're there on Thursday. And if you actually need coaching, reach out. We have an amazing community that is going to challenge you, but at the same time, build you out as an outstanding Scrum Master. Without wasting much time, let us go into the question of for the day. What are the different work category or work management process in Agile? Now, I know many people are familiar with story points and epics. Now, apart from story points and epics or story points and futures, what exactly do you know? Have you come across an understanding of what an initiative is, what a team is, and the difference between Jira epics and portfolio epics? All right, and how do we actually relate that to the actual work that is taking place? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and let's have some really serious learning right now. Okay, perfect. I'm hoping that you've seen my screen. Let me go on the presentation mode right now. Now, when we talk about work category in Scrum, and now this is part of the course I deliver, Scrum Simplified. I'll share the link on how you can actually enroll for this course. It's just one of the component I share in 12 different models. And this is not even a full model. So I'm just taking an extract from it to give you an explanation. All right. So in most of the time, work are categorized in agile based on the timeline or based on the effort you are going to use to complete the work. So I want you to pay attention to this. So the basic of how we call work, either it's a task or it's a story or it's a future or it's an initiative, an epic, a theme is based on the amount of effort. Right. Now, most often, the amount of effort in most agile environment are considered stories, right? We consider them stories. So we use story point in estimation. But in reality, when you are managing the project, when the product manager and the Epic owners and the Epic lead are walking into the project, they actually use the categorization of years, months, weeks, days to categorize if a piece of work will be considered as a team, will be considered an initiative, an epic, a future, a story, a tax, and a subtax. Right. Now, I'm going to show you another breakdown, which is going to help us really consider this much better. Now, but before I come to this one, which is what many of us are going to be more familiar with, let me take a step back and look at this one. When we talk about a team, what is it about, right? And now, if you're a Scrum Master, sometimes you only start interacting when we get to the level of future, which is what I'm going to explain in the next slide. But then for those who are within the space of agile coaching or those who are within the space of ROTEs or sit above the Scrum Masters, you are going to benefit from this knowledge. Now, a theme obviously you can consider this like you can have the HR department, right? In your organization, or you can have a finance department. So a team actually help us to look at a broader perspective. This is something that we're implementing across years. This is something that's not going to change anytime soon. So we categorize that as teams. Under teams, we might have initiative. Right. Let's consider we are working on a finance department. Right. Finance department as a team. An initiative might be that we want to start calculating, matching the effort of every developer into converting how many hours they're working on into monetary goals. So we want to closely track how much time they are spending and how we can translate this time to a dollar amount, right? So this is an initiative that like, oh, is it possible for us to do this? Right. Now, initiative, it also kind of an idea, like it's an idea that it's possible for us to do this. Now, when we have an initiative, there is also another category which is not captured right here, which is called capability. Capability or capabilities, right? After we have this initiative, we have what we call capabilities. Now, with capabilities, remember, I just gave you an example. We have an initiative. Is it possible? We're thinking about a possibility on how to tie every hour that a developer is working with the dollar amount. That's an initiative that's coming in from what? From the finance department, right? The finance department sit at the level of the team, right? This is we're gonna implement it for a long year. Now, when we come with this initiative, we need now to define what? The next point. The initiative is good. So when it's good, it becomes an idea, right? An idea that, yes, we should implement this. So until we accept that we should implement this, we don't get it into a production process. So the reason why the first thing that most often we see in the space of Jira are epics is because until we discuss at the level of upper management and upper leadership and accept that we can do the work, we're not going to move it into epics. So, which is why I brought in the second scale more or less to clarify what we're about to say here. So, an initiative simply means that we're thinking about something we want to implement, and we're thinking that this is going to benefit the whole company, or this is going to benefit the whole department. Now, this initiative is, as I discussed previously, from the finance department. The finance department want to look at how they can tie, or they can be able to tie capacity to a dollar amount, right? Now, in the aspect of Agile, they might not really need this because Agile doesn't focus so much on micromanaging. But finance really need this because finance need to take care of their numbers, right? They need to take care of their numbers. So they come up with this initiative. Normally, when they come up with this initiative, what the Agile team will see is that when all of this is discussed, it has not yet been accepted. Now, when the discussion will go from here, and then they will come up with capabilities. Capabilities. Okay. I'm hoping I'm spelling it rightly. Okay. Capabilities. Now they'll come up with capabilities. If you work in a bigger environment, you might come in contact with capability. Capability simply means solution. They'll come up with a solution on how this is going to work. When this solution is now adopted, when the solution is now adopted, right, they will now push it down to, okay, project agile team, you can start working on it. Now, capabilities is where we are still discussing the budget that is going to go through the project and everything. Remember, the Scrum team and the are not supposed to focus on budget. If you work with the Scrum team, you don't pay attention to budget. At the level of, we also have epics that are higher than these epics. We call them portfolio epics, right? Now, the epics on this one are the one you see on your Jira board. These are called Jira epics. So there is a differentiation between a portfolio epics and a Jira epics. But then I don't want you to pay attention to that. I want you to pay attention to what you normally see in a Scrum environment. You start seeing from here. I'm just taking you one step higher by giving you an idea that before work is being pushed down as epic, this is where we have had a solution and then we have tied a dollar amount to the solution. So when it's being pushed to your team, you start implementing. Now, as a Scrum team, this is also equivalent to futures, right? Jira epics are equivalent to futures, but you know that since there's no future in Jira as there's no let's say label as future, we always call it epics. Now the reason we also call it epics because this is the first idea a Scrum team we interact with before start breaking it down to story. So epic simply means an idea that we wanted to work on or a functionality that we wanted to work on. Now we can come up with an initiative or a solution. We can break the solution into different functionality. That's why although it's simply an idea that was conceived of here, we can break it down into different components. Now, I'll give you an example from looking into uh, our our finance department trying to want to get all the effort and convert all the effort into dollars, right? So between that, they will have full-time employees. Now they'll have full-time employees. The way they'll calculate the time for full-time employee will be different from the way they'll calculate the time for contract employees, right? That's why you can have an initiative having different epics. Why? Because even when full-time employee have holiday time, they'll still pay them. But contract, when you have holidays, they will not pay you. So they will need that the way this is classified is different from the way this is classified. Sometimes they might also have like fixed contract. This is more like these are people are coming from firm where they have a fixed amount to them. They don't calculate hours. They just like, if you finish this work, we'll pay you this amount. So they will be able to have this different categorization in terms of functionality. What are they trying to do? Tie budget to the work. But then they will now subdivide it into different functionality. Functionality simply means this is what we want it to do, right? We want it to tie employees which are full-time differently, contract which are full-time differently, and maybe the way we work with firms differently. Now, those who are building it, because they need to tell a system on how to calculate time for full time differently, they will tell them, okay, calculate this number of years in a week. Even if it's a holiday, put a dollar amount to it, right? And pay this. They'll say this, okay, calculate this number. When it's a holiday, do not apply any dollar amount to this. They'll tell this one, it's a fixed number. So when we put a fixed number, everything on a fixed number. You don't have to calculate hours. Just calculate as percentage right here. Right. Now, because of these different levels of categorization, which are the futures we want to see in our application, the developer will now break it down into the way that will help them configure to build this functionality in a way that can capture hours even when they're holidays. They build this functionality in a way that they can capture hours and not be them when it's holiday. They build this functionality in a way that it's not going to even calculate hours, but only calculate the percentage of work completed and bill the final stuff. Okay, now you realize that what is happening right here? The level of work help the whole entire organization to understand how far work is being executed. When a job is labeled as an initiative, we understand that this is at the level where we're still having high level conversation. We have not even agreed. Major or business stakeholders are still having conversation. Now, when you move to the level of epic, right here is the first epic, which is a portfolio epics. All right, we have agreed and we start putting budget into what we want to do. We have the budget amount, we have an idea of what it's going to take us. Then it moves to capabilities. We want to convert these major ideas, these major stuff into major solutions that we're going to deliver. And then from capabilities, now we move it to futures, right? Futures are also called Jira epics. So you also will have this as epics, right? Now, then we now have a clarity of what we're going to do based on this level of epics. And now the developers, now this is where the developer comes in and break now to stories. Now, stories and tasks are different level, right? Stories and tasks are different level. Stories more or less function on help us to capture functionality, and tasks help us to capture non-functional requirements, right? And story and task can be break down into subtasks. Now, one of the things I also want you to focus is that when it's at the level of capabilities, the people who negotiate more with these are the solution managers, solution architects, stakeholders are still trying to figure out how this is going to work. There's so much discussion with stakeholders. When it's at the level of Epic, we're trying to find a budget for it. We're trying to look at what are the agile best practices that we use. So before work gets into the level of epics, all of this conversation have happened and the work is just pushed down to the team. So, in a nutshell, the different categories of work in Agile start from what? From subtasks to story to futures. Futures are also called epics, but Jira epics, up to capabilities. Capabilities give us the solution, and up to portfolio epics. Portfolio epics are ideas, up to initiative. Initiative are departmental ideas that have not even been decided on if we're going to use a waterfall approach or not. Teams are sitting at a very high level before the company even decide if they'll go agile or not, right? So those are kind of the work. Now, if you look at also this solution in terms of the way the organization is structured, what are you seeing here? You see, okay, there are different layers of what is happening in this space, right? So you see tax is happening right here, user story, you have futures and capability, we have initiative, and right up here, we're going to have teams and OKR, strategies and teams are OKR. So it's a really, really beautiful stuff to take a look into it, right? And subsequently, I think in the next video, I might take a bit of time to talk about the user stories, the different type of user stories, definition of done. But definitely, if you go to this course on my website, you can have a full assessment of this course. It's really, really, really powerful one, right? This is just one of the models out of the 12 models I discussed in that course, where I take my time and really teach you all of this detail, what it means, the different type of estimation, different type of management too. So if you want to get your knowledge more deeper into Scrum, make sure that you also check out this course. And I'm working on the book version, which is going to be out very soon. The goal is for us to learn and get more. I'll see you on the other side. Have a blessed week.